Okay. Shiva, can you see my screen now?
Yeah, I can say.
Okay. Yeah. So from today onwards, we are starting with the new topic that is odata. Odata. Okay. Odata.
Oh,
So in
yeah.
this odata, what we need to cover. So in this odata, we have couple of things to cover. Like
Okay.
first of all, we will see what is a gateway server, then what is actual odata. Okay. And
Okay.
then where we actually implement this odata services.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
So all these three things we will see from the odata perspective. And after that, from UI5 perspective, we have to see OData model. Okay. At the end, once we create the OData service, how we can easily implement this OData service in UI5 application, that we will see at the end. Okay. Once we complete with
Yeah,
the
in
OData
means
implementation.
means how to perform corrective operations with UI5 and what data. Will you explain that also?
Yes, yes, because see, OData implementation means CRUD operation for sure.
Yeah.
Without CRUD operation, it cannot be completed.
Okay. I mean
Okay.
means how to call what data from
In UI5,
UI5.
right? The main
Yes, yes.
motive is how to call that UI5, how to call that OData service in UI5. That is a main motive behind
Yeah,
this.
okay. Yeah, okay.
Okay. Yeah. So can we start now?
Yeah, you can start.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with the SAP NetWeaver gateway. So what is this gateway? Why it came into picture? Okay, and what was the need? And after that, why SAP has introduced OData? Everything we will see now. Okay, so before we start with SAP NetWeaver gateway, so what was the main reason that they have introduced this gateway? Uh, why they have introduced gateway server? Okay, what is this SAP NetWeaver gateway now? That we will see now. Okay, so in early I think in early 2000s, okay, before 2010 and all. So if you look at all the SAP applications, okay, if you look at all the SAP applications, so all SAP applications, they were getting built on SAP NetWeaver gateway, right? So I mean, all the applications are accessible only on one platform, that is on SAP NetWeaver gateway. You call it as SAP GUI. Okay, but after 2010, when lot of smartphones come into picture, right? They came into the picture like Android phones are there, Windows are there, Apple devices are there. So all these smartphones, when they came into picture, so the mobility, the evaluation of or evolution of mobility or the mobile, it came into picture, right? So because if you compare 10 years back, at that time, um, the all the customers or the people, they were not using all the means that kind of mobile phones are not available, right? Means like smartphones and all. So 10 years back, they were not accessible. They were not easily available in the market. But after 10 years, now if you consider each and every customer or each and every people, they are using smartphones, right? And the reason behind using the smartphone is each and every application, it can be used with the help of smartphones. You don't need to access your laptop or you don't need to access your desktop in order to do our daily business operations. Okay, that is the main motive. So when the smartphones came into picture, so what it was happening, it was very hard to access that information, to access that data to the outer world, right? If you want to use SAP applications, so for sure you need SAP GUI. You need a T code for that. Then only you can easily access your SAP applications. But let's consider you have an application, you have an Android app. Okay, let's consider you have an app, Android app, and now you want to share the data. Okay, that Android app, it is accessing some data from different resources, like it is accessing some data or some information from SAP, and it is also accessing some information from non-SAP. Okay, so when we consider that from SAP side or from non-SAP side, so there was no middleware which will help us to access that information or to provide that information to the outer world. Okay, so at that time, so what SAP thought, so they will create one SAP NetWeaver or they will create one SAP gateway server. Okay, the gateway server which will act as a middleware or which will act as a development environment where developers can create their OData services. Okay, one
Yeah,
second.
okay.
Okay, so for sure they need means all the developers for sure some of the developers they are from non-SAP side, like they are from they sorry, they are from non-SAP sites, like let's say they know .NET or Java, some HTML5. Okay, for them, if let's consider they want to access some SAP data. Okay, they want to access some SAP information. How they will access that? So there is no middleware. Okay, there is no point of contact through which they can easily share the information. So the considering all these problems, what they have done, what SAP has decided, they will create one development environment, or they will create one interface which will provide all the necessary SAP related information to the outer world. Okay, so that's why they created SAP Gateway Server. Okay, the gateway server which will provide an interface, which will provide one development environment for the developers. Okay, and it will create a connection with SAP end users and also non-SAP end users. Okay, so with the help of SAP NetWeaver Gateway, or sorry, with the help of the gateway server, you can create your own OData services and you can host that OData services on that server so that outer world can access. It is not restricted to the SAP customers. Okay, non-SAP customers can also access that information. Okay, so that is the thing behind SAP has started the gateway server, so in which they started providing all the development environment for the end users. So when they started after, so they have released couple of versions. Like if you look at this chart, okay, I hope my screen is visible to you. Is my screen visible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, okay, if you look at this SAP NetWeaver Gateway, so they have released couple of versions like NetWeaver 7.31 or NetWeaver 7.40. Okay, so when they release NetWeaver 7.31, the basic release, so in that, let's say I want to I want to do a development of means I want to implement OData services. Okay, and I also need to access the backend data or the database. Okay, so for that, when they release the NetWeaver 7.31, they release couple of they release couple of components, like in SAP Gateway Hub framework, they release Gateway Core and IW underscore FND. Okay, so these are two important components which are required from gateway perspective. Means from OData implementation perspective, you need two most important components like GW underscore core and IW underscore FND. Okay, so what these components will do, it will help you to implement OData services. Okay, it will help you to implement the OData services on the gateway server side. It will also help you to provide a gateway client where you can test the services, your OData services. Okay, and IW underscore FND, it is a place where it will help you to at least it will help you for registration purpose. Okay, it will provide you some components, some runtime components, which will help you for model creation. Okay, all that basic things these components will provide. And now when it comes to the backend side, sorry, when it comes to the backend side, so the place where you actually write your code, okay, the place where you actually write your business logic. So that will come under their backend framework. Okay, so the backend framework where you will actually write your logic. Okay, so in order to so when this gateway NetWeaver was introduced, so when it came into picture, so the basic components were released. Okay, so from front end, from the generally there are front end server and the back end server. So from front-end server perspective, you need a components like GW underscore core, IW underscore FND. And from backend perspective, you need a components like IW underscore BEP. Okay, so this is basically a backend related components. So now when they release 7.31, the NetWeaver gateway. So at that time, all these three different components we have to install. Okay, but after a couple of years, they release the SAP NetWeaver Gateway 7.40. So when they release the NetWeaver Gateway version 7.40, so they have created only single component. So only single component is required. Okay, you don't need to install all these three different components. Okay, so only single component, that is SAP underscore GWFND is enough, which includes all the three components in a single component. Okay, so I hope you got it, Shiva, the release version.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so these are the basic things and these are the basic components which are required for OData implementation. If you want to create OData services from NetWeaver Gateway, so all these basic components we need it. Then only our OData services can be created easily. Okay, after that, there are different deployment options. Okay, there are different deployment options. Means let's say you're creating your fresh your OData project, and after that you want to deploy that OData project. Okay, you want to host those services, you want to register those services. Okay, so for that, there are different options. First of all, we need to understand the architecture, right? We have a different architecture like hub-based architecture and embedded-based architecture. Okay, so based on that, we also have a deployment options. Okay, we have a deployment options which will help us to identify based on our architecture where we need to host this OData services. Okay, so there are two deployment options. One is embedded deployment and the first one is the hub deployment. Okay, first of all, let's see what is hub deployment. So now let's consider you're working with the client which has a hub-based architecture. Okay, so if you consider the hub-based architecture, so if you look at this architecture, on the top we have the consumers. The consumers means the actual end users who will consume this OData service. Okay, so if they want to consume OData service from the gateway hub means your gateway server. So we have to use HTTP protocol. Okay, for sure, because HTTP protocol, it is a common protocol that has been accepted as a standard if you want to access any service on the internet, right? So with the help of HTTP base, you will access the OData services, and that OData services, it will come from your gateway hub, which is nothing but your gateway server. Okay, so on the gateway hub, if you look at it, we have three components installed on the gateway server. That is your GW underscore core, IW underscore FND, and or SAP underscore GW FND. Okay, it depends what type of NetWeaver version you're using. If you're using NetWeaver version 7.31, so you need all these three components. Like I already told you in previous. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah. So if you're working with NetWeaver version 7.31, you need all these three components. Okay. But if you're using NetWeaver version 7.40, so on your gateway hub, you only need this component, SAP underscore GWFND. Okay, that one component would be enough. So based on that, so once you have all this component, so it will create a OData runtime. Okay, it will create a runtime. Okay, and after that, after the gateway hub, you have SAP Business Suite. Okay, SAP Business Suite, where you will write your OData design time, and you will also means there are a couple of things. Your services will be created in your SAP Business Suite, means which is nothing but your backend system. Okay, and where we will have the components like IW underscore BEP or SAP underscore GWFND. Okay. So in Gateway Hub, what you will do, you will host your services, and in your backend system, you will implement your OData services. You will write the business logic for your OData services. OK, so this is your hub base. So in hub-based deployment, so your gateway server is your gateway hub. It is always separated from your backend system. Okay, it is always separated. It's not. And how it is linked means how you can access the data from your backend system with the help of RFCs. We have RFCs, we have BAPIs. So based on that, you can easily access the information from different backend system. Okay, if you want to access that information or if you want to access that data in your gateway server. Okay, is this clear, Shiva? Any questions in
Yeah,
this?
what is your WF and SPI? Yeah, what is the?
Below this one?
Oh yes, yes, below. Which
Yeah,
system?
these are the different means it's like an API. Okay, it's like in a
Oh,
function which will provide you the ready-made data. It will
yeah,
pull some information, it will provide some data for you, like
yeah.
RFC. So in this case, what RFC will do? It's
Yeah,
like a
RSP Business Object Repository and
right, right.
BWINO. And I mean, what means WF means it is workflow or SPI. What is this?
Okay, that I will let you know. Okay,
Yeah, okay.
maybe I will provide you the note. So based on that, you can just go through it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Yeah. So at least apart from that, any questions you have?
No, no.
Okay. So this is the hub based. So in hub means in hub deployment, always we have means your gateway server. It is separated from your backend system. Okay, it's not. So how it is interlinked? It is interlinked with the help of RFCs. Okay, so you can just access your data with the help of remote function calls. Okay, so now let's move to the embedded deployment. So if you look at the embedded deployment, so same like you have the consumers, but where is your gateway server? Okay, where is your backend system? So your gateway system and your backend both are integrated in business suite. Okay, means your odata creation, your odata implementation, and the services where you will host everything will come under backend. Okay, there is no separate gateway server or there is no separate gateway hub. Okay, everything is included in your backend system. So that is nothing but your embedded deployment. Okay, so everything is available in one place. So there is no different, you don't need any RFC and all for if you want to pull the information because everything is available in one place. Okay, any questions in this, Shiva?
As of now, no, no.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's move to the different deployment options. So in this, if you see, already I have what I've shown you that we have only two deployment options, that is hub deployment and the embedded deployment. Okay, but under the hub also we have two different things. It's like if you look at the first one, development in the backend. Okay, so on the top you have the gateway hub. Okay, so your gateway hub is a different server. So in that gateway hub, you will only host your services. You will register your services or you will maintain or register your services on gateway hub. But actual implementation, actual business logic, you will write it inside the backend in your backend system. Okay, so that kind of central hub system is also available. Okay, and when you look at the next option, that is central hub deployment, with where you will do your actual development in SAP Gateway Hub. Okay, so in this case, if you look at it, your actual service implementation and your actual business logic, you will write it inside your Gateway Hub on your gateway server. Okay, so only your data will reside in your backend system. Okay, and that data, how you will access that data, you will access with the help of RFCs. So that is your central hub deployment with the gateway hub system. And the last one is the embedded deployment. So there is no need to explain for any explanation, right? It's straight and forward. So any questions in this for the gateway server?
No, actually, I know little bit.
Mhm.
Where I have means while implementing more data, I have some queries. I will ask that time.
Okay, okay. Okay, so now this is your related to the gateway. This is your related to the gateway server. So the next thing is OData. What is the actual OData? Why it came into picture? Before that, nothing was there. Okay, so one second, Shiva. One second, Shiva. I'm just getting one call. Yeah, sorry for that. Okay, so now let's move to the OData part. So what is OData, what it is, and why we need to use it? Okay, so the OData is OData was originally invented by Microsoft. Okay, it was originally invented by Microsoft, and it was completely shared through open source. Means it is open source only. There is nothing that license you need to purchase in order to consume your OData services. If you want to use the OData services, nothing is like that. Okay, it was originally invented by Microsoft, and it is an open source. Okay, and which has become an industry standard nowadays. So it has become the industry standard. Means any application you take, like Android app or your SAP app or your Fury app, UI5 application, anything you take. So nowadays, if you want to, let's say you want to consume the data, you will consume it with the help of OData services, right? So that data you will consume in a form of OData service. Okay, so now that OData service, it became an standard, an industry standard. Okay, and it has been used by the several companies like SAP, Microsoft, IBM. So all these popular companies nowadays, they are using OData services only. So we have our various OData versions like version 2, OData version 2, OData version 4. So different OData versions which are available in the market, in a market. Okay, so this OData services, it's like a form. It is like of an contract, which is it's like a contract between your non-SAP side and SAP side. Means like like if you consider, let's say this OData service only SAP is using, but what about the other technologies? Like there is a .NET, there is a Java, there is a PHP. So for that, how it will work? Okay, there should be a common standard. There should be a common protocol. Okay, that each and every framework or each and every technology should use. So that's why OData it's one kind of an industry standard, which nowadays it's just a creating a relation between your non-SAP users and SAP users. Okay, it's bringing the developers from both side, from SAP side and from non-SAP side. It's bringing both of this developer at one place on same side. Okay, why? With the help of OData services. Okay, all these different side of developers, they can use the common OData service for their OData implementation. Because otherwise, let's say apart from the OData service, let's say my data is coming from in different source like Oracle and all. So how it will work? So again, it would be more problem, right? There should be some standard. There should be a common way to access this information. So what this OData is doing, OData is it is like a contract between non-SAP side and SAP side. It's helping It's helping developers to bring, okay, to come in same side, okay, to belong on same side. So OData is completely based on REST APIs. I hope you know the REST APIs. It's like a representational state transfer. It is of a REST API which provides a benefits of so many things. Like it just create your OData services in lightweight. It is completely built on HTTP protocol. Okay, you can easily access the data via internet or data via web. Okay, it will help you because this OData, if you consider the OData, it is completely based on RESTful APIs. A RESTful API which will provide you the functionality, which will provide you the APIs for accessing the information on the internet. Okay, that is done with the help of RESTful APIs. So OData is completely, it is based on the RESTful APIs as it is based on the RESTful APIs. So going forward, any request like get a read request, let's say you want to read the information from the server, so you can use a different HTTP request, like you can use the get request, you can use the post request. Let's say you want to create a new record, you want to push some data, you want to send some data to the server side, to the backend, so you can use the post HTTP request type. Okay, so apart from, let's say you want to delete, you want to update, so all these different APIs, all these different the request, it is available with the help of RESTful APIs. So as OData is using RESTful APIs, so OData is accessing or it is inheriting all these properties, all these features from the RESTful APIs. Okay, so that's what the SAP, that's what the OData. So OData, it's like one kind of an standard, one kind of an industry standard, or it is one kind of a protocol, which is followed by all the technologies nowadays. Okay, and it is completely based on HTTP protocol. So HTTP means as we want to access this information via the internet, so we should have some security standards, we should have some protocols. Okay, so this OData is following all these protocols. Okay, so I think the theoretical part is enough. Maybe we can just deep dive
Yeah.
into,
Okay.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
We can just deep dive into this OData implementation, how we can implement the OData service, and at the end, how the end users, how the end users like developers, how they can access this information, this business data onto their respective applications. Okay, so let's see that. So for implementing the OData services, okay, for implementing the OData services, we have one gateway service builder. Okay, so what SAP has done, they have created one environment. Okay, they created one development environment where developers, they can create their OData services. Okay, the place where they can create their OData services. Okay, because we need an environment which will create an OData services without writing a single line of code. So that kind of environment which SAP has created with the help of gateway server. And then for that, they provided one T code. What is that T code? SEGW. That SEGW, that T code itself, it says that the gateway service builder, the place where you will actually create your OData services. Okay, so let me go to the SEGW. So if you want to go to the SEGW, you can just write OSEGW. Okay, so this is your actual gateway service builder. This is a place where you will create your OData services. Okay, so for creating your OData services, we have one option, create here. Can you see? So for creating the OData services, first of all, we need to create the OData project. Okay, we have to create the OData project. So I'm just creating the new OData project here. So you just have to create here, click on this icon. You provide the OData project name. So make sure that your OData project name, it should start with the Z alphabet, Z or Y, as this is a custom OData project. So I'm just writing Z. UI5 ZUI5. Okay, I'm just going to write odata underscore ZUI5 underscore odata underscore service. Okay, fine. So I'm just providing a project name as ZUI5 underscore odata, or otherwise I'll, instead of service, I'll just provide employee. Okay, so this is your project name. Apart from that, you can just provide the data service for UI5 apps. Okay, after that, there comes the project type. So let's say you want to create this service with SAP annotations or vocabulary base annotation modeler for reference service or data version v4. So the different options are available based on the app that you are going to implement. Let's say you want to create an OData services for the smart controls. So you can go with service with vocabulary based annotations. Okay, so there is also annotation model for reference service. So we will not go into that direction. So we will go with the basic approach, service with SAP annotations. Okay, that's why it is kept as a default. Okay, so after that, there is a generation strategy. You keep it as a standard only. So nothing is there. And now here I'm just storing this project in a local package. Okay, so as soon as you create your OData project, you will see 4 folders. Okay, so by default, 4 folders will be created like data model, service implementation, runtime artifacts, and the service maintenance. Okay, so the data model and the service maintenance we will see now. And then, so after that, we will see the service implementation and the runtime artifacts. Okay, so when you look at the data model, so data model, it is a place where we will have the information of all the different entity sets, all the entity types, and also the relationship between the different tables. Okay, all that things will be available under the data model. So what this data model consists of? So this data model consists of entity types. So entity type is nothing but your structure. Okay, let's say you want to create an OData service. So for sure, you will create that OData service for some table, right? You will access some information of some database table into that service. So for that, you will create an entity types. So entity type, which will just hold the structure of that table. Okay, so where you will have all the properties, where you will have all the keys. So for that case, we will use the entity types. Okay, so entity type means it is just like a structure, which will hold the structure of the table. It's not like it's storing all the data. It's just a structure of the table, just like a structure of your data service of that entity type. Okay, so after that, there is an association. So association, it is a place where you will just create a relationship between a header and the child. Okay, you will just create a relationship between your header and children's. So that kind like one to many, many to one. Okay, like cardinality. So there are different cardinality options so that everything will come under the association. So association today we will not go into that deeper. So maybe next Saturday we will see that association. Okay, so after that we have the entity set. So what is the entity set? Entity set is nothing but it's your actual table. It's your actual table which is holding all the information. Okay, all the records of your structure. So each entity set will have n number of entity types. Okay, means entity type means it's nothing but it's your single structure, and entity set means it's your actual table. Okay, which will have n number of records. Okay, which will actually hold the entire table data. So that is nothing but your entity sets. Okay, so once we complete with the data model, then we have the service implementation. So service implementation, if you look at the structure, nothing is created. Okay, we'll see that in few seconds or in few minutes once we create once we generate the runtime artifacts. Okay, so service implementation and the runtime artifacts we will see in some time. So after that we have the service maintenance. Okay, So the service maintenance means the place where you will actually maintain or we will actually host our services. The place where we will host our OData services. Okay. Any questions in this folder structure, Shiva?
No.
Okay, so 1 second. Just give me 1 minute. Okay. So once when you create your project, so after creation of the project, for sure we need a data model definition. And once the data model is defined, then we need to do the service implementation. And once the service implementation is done, the final step would be just to host or just to maintain or register that OData service on the gateway server. Okay, that is the basic process for service creation in any case. Okay, so now let's do one thing now. So now, so let's try to create one table. So I will not create a database table. So I have already created one a basic table which has a couple of columns or properties, and then from that we will just access that structure into this entity type. So that going forward we can just create an OData service for it. Okay, so as our OData service is already, OData project is already created. So the next step is we just need to import some structure, some database, some table structure so that we can create our OData service. Okay, so now I have already created one basic table which has some employee information. Okay, so let me go back here, or I will open just new window. Okay, let me go to the SC11. Okay, so we have one table ZUI5 underscore employee. Okay, Z employee underscore UI5. So if you look at this table, okay, so I have just created one basic master table of employee for the employee, which has a couple of properties in which employee ID is nothing but it is a key property. And apart from employee ID, we have employee name, email ID, gender, designation, company, and date of birth. Okay, so we have only this couple of properties in this employee master table. Okay, so now in this employee ID is only the key. So now if you look at the data, I have maintained a couple of data here, means couple of entries I have already maintained. Okay, so we have here almost 8 records in this. Fine now. So now what we will do, so we will access this structure first of all, and based on this, we just want to create a service. We just want to create one service which will which will provide all this information of the employees when we run this actually in the browser. Okay, so let's see now. So first of all, let me go back here. Let me copy this table name. Okay, so let me go back to the gateway service builder. And now what I will do, I will just create my entity sets. Okay, I'm just going to create a structure. So at the same time, which will create the structure, and at the same time, it will also create the entity sets, which is nothing but your table. I'm creating entity type and entity set at the same time. So what I have to do for creating the new entity type, just right click on the data model, click on import and just click on DDIC structure. Okay, so why I'm choosing DDIC structure? Because I have already created a database table. Okay, so that structure I'm just going to import. So that structure, because you don't need to specify, you don't need to create any any entries, you can directly right click on the import and you can import it from the DDIC structure. So I'm just choosing that option. So now you can provide a name to your entity type. So I'm just providing employee as entity type. So after that, you have the two options to choose which type of entity you want to create, whether it should be of complex type or entity type. So I'm just creating an entity type, not a complex type as of now. So after that, you can just provide the structure name, the database table name. I'm just providing here. And after that, make sure that you click this. OK, the checkbox is clicked or it is checked. That what it will do, it will help. At the same time, when the entity type is getting created, it will also create your entity set. OK, after that, just click on next. So once you click on the next, it will provide you the option to choose from all the properties. It's your choice whether you want to choose all the properties or not. Okay, so I'm just choosing this top option so that it will select all the properties or all the columns from that table. Okay, and just click on next. And after that, I'm just making this employee ID as a key field. Okay, so just making this employee ID as a key field and just click on finish. So once you click on the finish, so you will see your entity type is created, which has the entity type employee and which has the properties. Okay, like employee ID, employee name, email ID, gender, designation, company, and date of birth. Okay, and at the same time, so your entity set is also created. If you look at the entity set, it has the employee set. Okay, so which has the employee set. So all these options are created now. Okay, for us. Now we have just created a single entity type for employee, which has the employee set. So the next thing is what we need to do. So once you create your entity type, so next thing is we have to create the data provider class and the model provider class. We have to define the models because model is the only thing so that will be generated once you generate the runtime artifacts. Okay, once you generate the runtime artifacts, it will create the data provider class and the model provider class. Because once that provider class will be created, so that place where you will write your actual logic. Because at the end, we need to write our logic, right? So that can be written where inside the classes. So that classes, when it can be generated once you select this project and you will click on this generate runtime objects. Okay, so after generating the runtime objects, so for sure it will create the couple of classes. We will see that in few minutes. Okay, so let's do one thing now. So let's click on this odata project here and now just click on this runtime objects. So once you click on this runtime object, so it will give you the couple of options, like it will provide you the name of the class which is getting created. And after that, it will also provide you the name of the class for the DPZ. And after that, it will provide you the technical name of your service. OK, so this technical name is very important of your service. ZUI5 underscore OData underscore employee underscore SRV. OK, so this is the name of your service. Means why this is important? Because as a ABAP developer, let's consider I'm a OData developer. OK, so I have just created the OData services for UI5 developer. OK, if let's say you want to provide the service information to the front end developer. So what you will do, you will just provide the technical name of the service to the front end developer. So once you provide the service name, then only that front end guy, he will easily access the other things or other information with the help of this service name. OK, so this technical service name is very important. And apart from that, we have a technical model name. So which is nothing but your model, which will hold this actual information. All your service related information, this model will hold. OK, so now let me click on this OK sign. And after that, it will ask you whether you want to store this information in any package or not. So I'm just storing it as of now in a local object. Okay, so once you click on this local object, so now if you see runtime artifacts will be created. So which will store some information in service implementation, and at the same time it will also store some information in runtime artifacts. So if you look at this folder at the initial, your service implementation and the runtime artifacts, these two folders initially it will be remain blank, but these folders will be filled after generating the runtime artifacts. Okay, so now let's see what we have inside the service implementation. So under the service implementation, you will see a basic option of your employee set, which is nothing but your employee set. OK, so under the employee set, you can create or you can implement the service for all these different options like create. So for create implementation, you can do for delete also you can write the logic. There is also get entity set and update. So all these different service implementation you can do, okay, for this particular entity set. So that's only they have defined. Okay, that is only coming under this employee set. Okay, so this is what it will come under this service implementation. So next it comes to the runtime artifacts. So when you look at the runtime artifacts, it will hold all the basic class related information like DPC extension, MPC extension, and also the technical name of service and also the technical name of model. OK, so the runtime artifacts for sure it will hold only the class related information. OK, and after that at the end we have the service maintenance. OK, so once you generate your runtime artifacts, so the next thing is you have to register, you have to maintain this service in the service catalog. OK, we have one service repository where you have to host these services. We have to maintain these services. Then only the service it can be accessible to the outer world. OK, so if you want to maintain this service, you just need to right click or you can just double click on this. On right click, if you see, we have an option of register service. OK, once you register this service, OK, so you just need to provide the system alias, means where you want to register this service, whether you want to host this service on the current system or any other system. So as of now, the current architecture of my system is embedded. OK, so embedded means the gateway server and my backend server. It is available in one place. So I'm just selecting it as a local. OK, and just click on it. OK, and once you click on it, then again it will provide you the technical service name and you can just store it in the local object and you can click on this checkbox. OK, so now as soon as you see, you will see the register status as in green color. It means your service is registered successfully. OK, your service is registered successfully. OK, and after that, let's say there is also one more option in which through which you can register. Means there is a T code through which you can also register your service. OK, there are two options for registration. You can just directly double click on this option and you can just click on this register. It will directly register and maintain your service in the service catalog. But manually also you can do it. You just need to go into the T code. So there is a T code for that. OK, let me open a new window. OK, so there is a T code. So I'll write /n/iwfnd/ maint underscore service. OK, so this is a T code. So this is a T code where we will actually maintain where the place where we will maintain our services. Like it is like a catalog where all these services are available. So in this also there is an option to register your service. OK, for registering your service, you just need to click on add service. And after that, you need to provide a system alias and you need to provide your technical service name. OK, and once you provide your service name, you can just enter and it will bring that service in this below bottom. OK, and after that, you can just select, and you can just click on add selected service, and automatically that service will be added in this. Okay. So now as my service is already added, so I can just search for the service name. So what is the service name? Let me go back here. So the service name is ZUI5 underscore odata underscore employee underscore SRB, right? So let me search here. Okay, ZUI5 underscore odata underscore employee underscore SRB. Okay, as soon as you search, 1 second. Oh, what was the service name? ZUI5, okay, ZUI5 underscore odata. Okay, so if you look at it now, this is what the service we have recently registered, right? So this is what the recent services which we have registered. Okay, the technical name of the service is ZUI5 underscore data underscore employee underscore SRB. So now just click on the service, and now below, if you see there, we have an option of SAP Gateway Client. Okay, so the place or the it is like a testing environment. It is a place where you can actually test your created OData services. Okay, so as I've directly selected this, I'm just clicking on this SAP Gateway Client. Okay, so as soon as you click on this SAP Gateway Client, you will see this is what the path of your service. Okay, this is what the path of your service, and this is what the technical name of your service, and it is very important. Okay, so going forward, if you want to provide informations, okay, if you want to provide data details to your UI5 developer or your front end developer, you just need to copy this service, and you can just ping him so that he can directly access that OData service and he can check all the details. So under this OData project, so this is the URL, and after that I will just click on this execute. So as soon as I click on the execute, so by default the type of call that we are making is the post. Is the get. Get is nothing but it is an HTTP request type. So as we want to read the information, right? So in this get, as soon as you read the service, you will see the basic details of the service, that how many entity types are there. OK, you will see this information in the XML type. OK, so basically the OData service, it will provide the information in two different data types. Like one is in the XML format and another one is in the JSON format. OK, but most probably you will use the information in JSON format only. OK, now let's see the information what it is providing. OK, so if let's say if you want to see the information of this OData service in detail. OK, as a UI5 developer, how I can see whether how many properties are created, what are the entity set which I need to include, which are the entity set I need to point out. So all this information you can see inside the metadata. OK, so as a front end developer, I need the information only from the metadata. So I will just click on this add URI option, and in that add URI option, I will select $metadata, and I will just click on this, and I will execute now. As soon as you execute, so you will see all the information. OK, all the basic information like how many properties are there, what is the structure, what is the employees, what is the entity type, what is the entity set. All that information you can see inside the metadata. So what is this metadata? Metadata is nothing but it is just like a service document. It is like a document which will provide in detail It will provide you detailed information of your service. Okay. So now in this service, if you look at it, we just created one entity set like employee set. So employee set is nothing but it is your name of the service. It is a name of your entity set. And if you look at the top, we have an entity type employee. Okay, which has a key properties. If you look at this key, so key property is employee ID and rest all other properties are the normal properties which are not key. Okay, so all the properties are mentioned like email ID, employee ID, gender, designation, company name, and birth date. Okay, so as a developer, as a front-end developer, I need this information. Okay, this is what the information I need so that let's say if I want to do the data binding, so I can directly bind these properties. Okay, I can directly bind these properties in the UI5 applications. And at the same time, you can also see all the information like what is the type of that field. Okay, what is the length of that field? Each and every information you can see for that respective field. Okay, any questions in this, Shiva? Any questions? Can you hear me now? Hello? Okay, okay, fine. Yeah, no issues. Okay, so now as soon as you see the service implementation and all, I mean with the help of dollar metadata, it will help you to provide all the basic information. Okay, it will help you to it will give you all the detailed information of your service. Okay, so now let's see how we can implement the basic operation, the basic CRUD operation for our OData service. So for implementation of the basic CRUD operation, so let's go with the get operation. Okay, let's see how we can implement the get operation. So before we get, let's see whether we are able to read the data from employee set or not. So for adding the employee set, you just click on this entity set option. And after that, if you see it's providing only one entity set because as of now, we created only one entity set. That is nothing but employee set. Okay, so just click on it and just click on this checkbox. Automatically, the employee set will be added at the end of the URL. And after that, you can click on execute. So once you click on the execute, so you will get an error of status code 501. So whenever as a developer, if you're getting an error as 501, it means the service is not implemented. It means the error is from the server side, not from the front end side. Okay, because as of now, we didn't write any code. We didn't wrote any code inside the get method because without writing any code, how you can read the information for that employees. So we didn't write any code for our get implementation, right? So that's why it is returning 501, which is nothing but not implemented. Okay, and it is also returning the error, the method employee set get entity set not implemented in data provider class in DPC class. Okay, so now the next thing is as we see we have not implemented it. So first of all, we need to implement this. Okay, first of all, we need to implement this. Then only our auditor service will work. Okay, so now let's implement that. So for implementation of this entity set, so let's go back to the gateway service builder. OK, so once you go back to the gateway service builder, so you just need to right click on the DPC underscore ext class. OK, so in in MPC underscore ext class, we will only write the model related information. OK, the actual business logic, we will write it inside the DPC underscore ext class. OK, so just right click on this DPC underscore ext class and just go to above workbench. OK, so just click on yes. OK, So now as soon as you comes under this employee underscore DPC underscore ext class, you will see all the different superclasses, attributes, methods, and type on the left hand side section. And under this, you can just expand methods in which you will have a couple of methods like inherited methods. So from this, we have to implement the get operation. OK, so as we want to read all information, so we have to implement get entity set, not get entity. OK, if you implement get entity means it will only provide you the single record. But if you are going to implement get entity set, it will going to provide all the information. It will return all the records from that table. OK, so now we are going to implement get entity set. So for implementing the get entity set, so what we need to do, we just need to right click on this method, and there we need to choose an option redefine. OK, so for basic implementation, we first of all we just need to redefine the method. OK, just remove the basic code from this method. OK, just click on save, just check and just activate your method. OK, just activate your class code. So once you activate, so now this is activated, right? So now just go back to the gateway client. Now just click on execute. Now, once you click on the execute, you will see that you will not get the error because as of now, we have just implemented. OK, we have just implemented that method, but we didn't write any code inside that because we need to write some query. Then only this will return the data. OK, so for returning the data, we need to write a query. OK, so at least if you're getting the 501 error, it means we have to implement that method. So we have just redefined that method in ABAP repository. So after defining that method in ABAP workbench, so now at least our service is working fine. OK, whenever if you're able to see status code as 200, it means your service is working successfully. OK, there is no issue with your service. OK, so now if you see I'm not getting any data. So if you want to see the data, you can just add a format or URI option as a format JSON. So once you add a URI option as a $$ format equal to JSON, and if you execute, you will see your data is blank. OK, so because your data is not coming inside the results. OK, so now what we need to do, we need to write a code for that. OK, so we need to
And
write
I
a
have one
query.
doubt.
Yes.
One doubt. We actually, once we implement service, I want to test that service from, actually I implemented in 500 client. I want to test in the 200 client. How to implement, how to call that service?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
In SAP, we have two systems like 500 and 200 clients.
500 and the 200,
Hello?
right?
Yeah, yeah. Once we implement in 500, I want to test in 200. How to test that?
You're talking about SAP client or you're talking
Yeah,
about this
yes.
gateway client?
SAP, get clients only. SAP, right now we have, in which client you are, yeah. Yeah,
See,
see, below you are,
now there is only single client. If there are multiple clients, I would have shown you in this, Shiva.
yeah,
Okay.
actually in interview they asked me, that's why I'm asking to
Mhm.
ask this question.
Okay. I will do one thing, Shiva. Let me check with the vendor. Okay. If I would be able to get the access, maybe I can show you that. Okay. Will that work?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Fine now. Yeah. So at least so far, whatever we have covered, is it clear or you have any questions in that?
No, as of now.
Okay. Can we proceed now? Okay. Fine.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Yes.
Okay, so now as of now, if you see, we are not getting any records because we didn't write any query for that, right? So we need to write a code inside that method, inside that get entity set method. Then only that method will bring the information in this OData service. Okay, so let's see now. Let's go back to our ABAP workbench and let's write some code. inside that method. Okay, so inside this method, I'm just going to define a method. Sorry, I'm just going to define a variable. 1 second. Okay, so I'm just going to write without defining any variable. Like I will directly write a query here, like select star from your table z employee underscore UI5 into corresponding fields of table et underscore entity set. Okay, et underscore entity set where I'm just copying this. I will tell you why I have written this. Filter string. Okay, so what I've written in this code, so I'm just selecting all the columns from this table into corresponding fields of table et underscore entity set. So what is this et underscore entity set? So while implementing any method, okay, while implementing any method, so always we have importing and exporting parameters. Okay, because if you consider any URL, okay, let's say from the URL, I want to get information of a particular employee. So for sure from that URL, I will pass a employee ID for which I want to get the information. So that information we will get it inside the importing parameters. Okay, and then let's say from this importing parameter means once you have the information, once your logic is written, now you want to pass that data, now you want to export that information to the outside world. Okay, so if you want to return that information to the end user, so for that we have the exporting parameters. Okay, so same like that, this et underscore entity set, it is one kind of a table which will uh, return that information in the form of a table to the outer world. So that's why I'm just selecting all the columns from the UI5 table into corresponding fields of table et underscore entity set. So we will select all the information from the table and we will pass that information to the et underscore entity set. And after that, we have a where clause, a where condition in which I have passed iv underscore filter string. Let's say from the front end side, if user is going to pass any filter query. Okay, so if user is going to pass any filter query, so that filter query will come in this. So based on that, automatically your data will be filtered out. Okay, so let's see now. So after writing the code, let me check this code. Okay, so there is no syntax error. And now I'm just going to activate this. Okay, so after activating, let's go back to your gateway client. Now let's try to execute this. Okay, so as soon as you execute, you will see all the information. Okay, all the records that we have stored inside the table. Okay, all the records it will display and it will bring in the format of JSON. Why? Because we have added the URI option like in format equal to JSON. That's why we are able to see this. So how many records we have? Almost, I think we have 8 records in this, right? So all these records we are able to see now. Okay, so this is how we can return the information. So after writing the query, so after once we are passing this information to the AT entity set, so based on that only we will see that information in our odata service. Okay, so any questions in this, Shiva?
No.
No, right? So this code wise everything is clear?
Yes, Avi.
Yeah, okay, fine. Okay. Yeah, after that, now let's try to check let's try to see our filter string as of now, or otherwise we can also check by putting a breakpoint. So I'm just going to put a breakpoint, external breakpoint here. Okay, and I will execute this once again. Okay, let me click on execute. Okay, So now as I'm inside the debugger, so let me see now what we have inside the IV filter string. So if you look at the IV filter string, so we don't have anything as of now in this, right? See, if you look at it, it's already it is a blank as of now. Okay, it's a blank only. Sorry. Yeah, nothing is stored as of now in this. Okay, so it's completely blank as of now. So now let's go back to our this ZUI file. So this is your actual table. Okay, this is your actual table. So now once we load that, 1 second. Okay, so now once we load that, what we are doing, we are loading all the data inside the ET underscore entity set. So if you look at this ET underscore entity set, we have all the data. Can you see all the data we have loading it inside the ET underscore ET underscore entity set. So once we load that, so automatically a user will see that information. Okay. Okay. So this is how we are able to see this information in the user. Okay, now let's say I just want to pass the filter here. Okay, I'm going to pass a filter here. So for passing the filter, same question dollar filter equal to, you can pass the EMP ID. So the key name, the property name is it's a case sensitive. After that, you can write EQ, and as your employee ID is in integer, so you can directly pass 2. Okay, so once you pass 2, just click on execute. Okay, so again, we have a breakpoint at this line number. Now let's see what we have now inside the IB filter string. So when you look at it, we have a value. We have a string like EMP ID equal to EQ and then in single quotes 2. Okay, because this is what the data we need to filter. Okay, so now once we go back to the desktop 3, so let it execute now. Go to the single step. And now let's see what we have inside the ET underscore entity set. Okay, if you look at this ET underscore entity set, we have only one record, which is matching with the employee ID 2. Why? Because we have just passed the filter query. Okay, we have just passed the filter parameter. So based on that, from the table, only that record got filtered out. Okay, and why this is happening? Based on the condition, based on the code that we have added. Because we have added one where clause, right? In this code, where IV underscore filter underscore string. Okay, so once we pass this, so based on that only we are getting the record. So now we should be able to see only single record for that employee ID. Fine now. Any questions in this, Shiva? So we are able to filter out the data.
No, no. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so now let's try to add one basic sorter here. Maybe we can add one basic sorting functionality. Should we add a sorter, or maybe you guys can try that once? Okay,
Yeah,
so
I'll,
at least,
yeah, okay.
yeah, or otherwise do one thing. Maybe we can add one. As of now, I'm just adding a sorting based on employee ID. Okay, I'm just adding a sorting based on employee ID. Maybe you guys can in future, maybe you can just modify the code and you can add the sorting based on couple of fields. Okay, so before we add a sorting, so let's take a 5 minutes break, Shiva. Okay, I think we can take a 5 minutes break and after that we can continue. Yeah. Shiva, are you there? Are you back?
Yes, I am there.
Okay, fine. Okay, so now, yeah, let's add some sorting functionality to our OData service. So I'm just adding a basic sorting based on the employee ID. Okay, so for adding the sorting, let me go back here. Let's go back to our code. It's like, where is our cursor? Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to declare one variable. Just sorting order for sorting order, because for sure the sorting will be done based on ascending and descending. So I'm just adding one type. So this type you can just copy from the sorting order. So we have this table for the sorting. So you can just copy that. I don't know. Or just let me write it directly. Yes. So we need just a structure sheet. Okay. So now we have the type, which is of structure. It's a structure, basically that order. And after that, what we need to do next? Next, we just need to read table. So now we have a table for this order. Okay, whatever the sorting, okay, whichever the property user will pass from the front end for the URL. So that sorting, for sure, that sorting will come and it will sit in one table. So if you want to see what type of property for which property and what type of order that user has assigned, so that information we can see inside the table. So for that we need to read the table order. So this is the sorting table which will have all the sorting information. Okay, so we need to read the table IT underscore order into ls underscore order with with key key property. Okay, and in that property you will pass emp id. Okay, that's it. So now what we are doing, we are just reading that property name. Okay, whatever the property is, that property we are reading them. And after that I'm just adding one condition here. If okay, then I'm just adding a case. Okay, so I'm just adding a case ls underscore order, and in that we have a table of order. Okay, because we have a column, I mean, for sure in IT order we have a different columns. So one of that column is the order, in which we will receive the order as ascending or descending. So from that I'm just adding a case. So if it is AAC, if it is ascending, then we need to sort the fill table, which is nothing but ET entity set. Okay, entity set by emp id ascending. Okay, so if it is DESC, then to add sort ET underscore entity set by MP ID descending. Okay, and rest you can just keep, we can just ignore it. And case. Okay, that's it. Okay, so let me beautify this code. Okay, let's check. So there is no syntax error. Okay, so now it is activated. So I'm just keeping a breakpoint here also. So maybe just putting a breakpoint here. Okay, fine. Yeah, so let me go back to the gateway client and let me pass a sorting here. Okay, so maybe we have a sorter that we can pass here. You have any idea, Shiva, how we can pass this sorter here?
Hello. Yeah, actually, I didn't remember. I practiced, but I didn't remember.
You didn't remember?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let me try this. Okay. So I'm also because yeah, we can try with that. Yeah, we have an option. We can try. Okay, so you just need to add question dollar order by equal to, you need to pass the property name. So because as of now we are just doing with the employee ID, and after that whether you want to do ascending or descending. So I'm just making it as DESC. Okay, that's it. Just click on execute now. So now once you click on the execute, so let it go down here. Okay, so now if you look at the ET entity set, so as of now, ET entity set has all the records, right? It has all the records which are coming in this format from starting with one and all. It's already in ascending format as of now by default. Let me go back here. Now let's see what we have inside this IT order. Okay, if you look at this IT order, it generally has a property EMP ID and it has the order DEC. So it has two columns, order property and the order. Okay. Now from this property, we need to read the EMP ID, and EMP's ID's order we need to see. Okay. Right. So now once we execute this, so what we have inside the LS order. So inside the LS order, we have the structure. Okay. We have the structure for that table. So from this LS order, if you look at this LS order, we have the property EMP ID and we have the order DEC. Okay, so from that, what we need to read here? So we need to, we have just added one condition. If SAPUI sub RC is equal to 0, if it is successful, then we need to read the order from that LS order structure, right? So what is the order we have here? We have the order DEC. So it will directly go into this. Right, it will directly go into this, and after that it will sort the ET underscore entity set by descending. So now let me execute. So as soon as I execute, so let me add a URI option after this format and just let me execute this. Okay, so once we do, you can see now at the start I'm getting the highest one because we have just sorted out. We are just sorting all the records based on the employee ID, that is also in descending. So now the employee ID which has the maximum number of means that ID is maximum. So based on that we are getting, right? So from 876. So you can see that all the records are getting sorted in descending order. Okay. So any questions in this, Shiva?
No, right.
No, right? Okay. So now let's implement get entity. Okay. So after the get entity, maybe, yeah, maybe we can see the rest of the part in next Saturday. That's fine. Okay. So we will implement only get entity set. Sorry, get entity. As of now, we have implemented get entity set. Now we will implement get entity in which we just need to pass a single record, means always it will return a single record. Okay, so that we are going to implement. Okay, so now let's implement that. Okay, so let me go back to the method. Okay, so make sure that you remove the breakpoint. Otherwise, unnecessarily, every time your debugger will be triggered, which will not happen. Oh, sorry. Oh. Okay, let me save the code now. Okay, so now as of now, we have just implemented get entity set. Now let's implement get entity. So same process, right click on this method name and redefine. Okay, so after that, you just click on this check and activate this method. Okay, so now how to read a single record from the employee table? So for that, the way is, let me try that. Okay, so okay, let's say if I want to read a single record. Okay, let's say I want to read a single record like this. I'm just passing one. So once I click on execute, okay, it will give 404 resource not found for the segment employee. Okay, as of now, we didn't return any code for that, right? So we need to write a code for that, then only it will return. That's why it's giving error not found. Okay, so I'm just going to write a code for that. So let me go back to the method. Okay, so let me remove this colon. Right line of IT key tab. So we have a table which will receive this key value pair. IT key underscore tab. So after that, I need one more variable for the value, which will hold this value, which is of type hyphen EMP ID. Okay, it is of only EMP ID because the key properties EMP ID. After that, IT key tab, just read from this table. LS key tab. Key name equal to, in single quotes, you can add EMP ID. Okay, and then you can add if condition if psi RC 0, you can add LV underscore value. You can fill that LV underscore value with LS underscore key underscore tabs value. Okay, and after that you can add select single UI5 into corresponding fields of ER entity, where EMP ID equal to LV underscore value. Okay, fine now. So just pretty, and after that, just check the code and activate. Okay, so now the code is activated. Now let's try the same. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's put a breakpoint here. Okay, so once you execute, now let's say what we have it inside the IT key tab. So if you look at the IT key tab, it is of type table and which has the column name and the value, in which as of now only we have a one key property, which is nothing but employee ID. So that key property name only it's coming here, right? The EMP ID, and after that there is a value for it. So from this, once we read that table, we will store that inside the LS key tab. Okay, so inside the LS key tab, we only have that record, which has the EMP ID and the one. Okay, so next we have just added one condition. If it is that is true, then we are just getting the value from that LS key tab and we are storing that value inside the LV value. Okay, so if you look at the LV value, we have the key value of that, and which is nothing but we have passed one as the EMP ID. So that value we have stored it inside the LV underscore value. And then from that, we have just written one condition that select single star from Z employee into corresponding fields of ER&DT where EMP ID equal to LV underscore ID. Okay. Can you see now? So that record only we are able to access. Why? Because we have just passed that employee ID as a one. Okay, so this is how we need to implement for get entity. So I hope this is clear, Shiva.
Yeah.
Okay, so for two also we can try. I can just remove maybe. Let me click on continue. Okay, so it's working for all the fields. Okay. So any questions you have? Anything you want to ask?
No, like these basic concepts I have idea.
Okay, okay, that's fine. Okay, yeah, I think the time is up. So maybe, yeah. Okay, so next Saturday maybe we can connect and let me try to complete all this OData implementation, and so that we can see all this implementation end to end from UI side. Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.